Greetings and welcome to the channel. Today I'm at a place called Ashmansworth. It's in Simon Jenkins' book of 1,000 churches. It's given 1 star, and this is called St James. Got private pews and a Whistler glass. The interesting thing about the Whistler glass, which I was attracted to, was the mention of the composer Gerald Finzi. Now, Gerald Finzi, as a classical composer, I don't know all his works, but he's written things like Fall of a Leaf, which I have always really enjoyed. Also, a clarinet concerto, which is very sweet. Probably his most famous work. I don't know whether he lived in this area or anything. It might say inside. Okay. A man just approached me while I was eating my sandwiches and told me that the chancel area of the church is alarmed because apparently they've had problems with someone being mischievous around here. But he's going to turn the alarm off for the chancel and also access to the wall paintings. I had to hurry my sandwiches. See you in the church, no doubt. This is the lovely man who's going to assist me today. Thank you.
So this is the window here for English music.
Oh yeah, the Finzi window.
And that's the one to his wife, Joy.
Ah, right, okay. So were they actually living in the village then?
He lived just opposite in the house.
Oh, really?
Across the lane.
Oh, right.
It's all used to be painted on here.
Oh, right.
But with the weather and where it is in the porch, it got a mess.
Oh, okay.
The Finzis kindly arranged for this to be carved and put up there instead. Some years ago, a book came out, published about the Finzi family. Somebody was a bit upset about it, and they came along and smashed the original glass.
Oh, dear.
So that one's got gilded glass either side of it now. That was actually a copy by Whistler's son. The other one over here, I'm afraid, is a bit simpler and was run through a machine and not a hand-carved copy. So anyway, if you want to see an earlier photograph of the wall paintings, that's in the picture frame.
Yep.
And there's some description about them there. The wall paintings round here are in that frame. There's a guide here, leaflet.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
Anyway, leave you to have a quiet look.
And suddenly it's really quiet. It's lovely. This church is now dedicated to St James, but was originally dedicated to St Nicholas. It is thought that the chancel was part of a former Saxon church, but the nave dates from the early 12th century. The 2 windows in the north left side of the chancel are somewhat earlier than AD 1200. The altar frontal was designed by Mrs. Jane Lemon, inspired by the consecration crosses on the walls of the church and the plants in the parish. It's hand embroidered by the Sarum Guild and commemorates the new millennium. The murals on the north wall of the chancel are early to mid-14th century. The chancel arch is very narrow, as is usual in early churches. It is perfectly plain with no attempt at moulding or ornamentation. On either side are squints, which do not seem to have been part of the original design, but were made so that worshippers in the nave might have a view of the main communion table. The communion table is of early Georgian work, as is also the pulpit, which was originally a 2-decker. If we are all equal in God's eyes, I see no reason for anyone to be on a higher pedestal than everyone else, aside from the parishioners having a direct sense of communion between the priest and themselves. There's a link in the description below the video that explains more about the wall paintings. I thought I'd just have a go at singing something to see how resonant it is. Oh, we do like to climb inside the pulpit. This is a trefold window of the 14th century. The window in the west wall is comparatively modern and brings much needed light to the place. The windows in the north side of the nave are of the 17th century, and we can see a doorway that's been blocked. I just noticed the first of the wooden bosses. And having left the pulpit, nearing what looks like a former gallery, observed another boss. The most important area of the nave for wall paintings is on the east wall over and flanking the chancel arch. Here there are or were paintings of 4 different dates, 3 medieval and 1 post-Reformation. It's interesting that as I look at the wall, there's lots of details emerging that I hadn't previously noticed, almost like the brain does a broad scan before reporting back, "We need more detail." The font is an ancient one, possibly as early as the 12th century. The old hinges and lock for the font cover were removed in the 19th century. This picture here looks like a Margaret Tarrant. She's an artist from, I think, the 1930s. She used to do a lot of pictures with religious themes. Yes, it is. In the south porch, I attempted to read some details to do with the windows, but the audio was terrible, so I'm narrating this at home. Windows to English music and in memory of Joy Finzi. In 1975 to 76, Mrs. Gerald Finzi offered to raise the necessary funds to provide a window designed by Sir Lawrence Whistler to be placed in the porch in celebration of English composers. This window had been engraved by Sir Lawrence's son, Simon. Names of the composers were originally painted on the walls by Anne Heckle, but deteriorated over the years and were replaced by engraved marble tablets. In 1995, Sir Lawrence designed a window in memory of Joy Finzi, Gerald's wife, which was installed on the east side of the porch. The design is an oval of words and music, the music being Gerald Finzi's setting of lines from a poem by Bridges. In the centre is a quotation from Wordsworth, "To seem here as if spoken by Joy, to Gerald, from whom she had been separated for 36 years. I think they mean separated by death rather than estranged, as clearly the instigation of this was an act of love, and they are both buried together outside, as we shall see. What, said she, is this word, joy? What is thy joy? And I replied, O sea, O my joy, 'tis thee, I cried, 'tis thee, thou art my joy. From Wordsworth's poems, Surprised by Joy, impatient as the wind, I turned to share the transport. Oh, with whom but thee long buried in the silent tomb? Gerald, who died in 1956, so joined 1907 to 1991, promoter of music, poetry and art. And this is the celebration of English music. Music to hear. Why hearest thou music sadly? Music when soft voices die, when music sounds. Gone is the earth I know, the music in my heart I bore. What's interesting is seeing the musical notes hanging in the boughs of the tree and lots of dates at the roots of the tree. And it is interesting here to observe amongst the familiar names of English music that I know, many names that I do not. Of course, it's easy to think that small composers were insignificant, but many had great influence on their composer friends and likely made suggestions and tweaks which influenced the moulding of these more familiar works, encouraging and giving confidence to them, helping them to grow. Perhaps this is why they are part of one large tree that through growth and adjustment emerges from the dark roots of insecurity, extending forth its leaves to receive the sunlight, thus producing its own fruit, the seeds of which are ingested by the next generation of composers. I touched Hubert Parry's piano. He did the set into William Blake's Jerusalem. I've touched Holst's piano, despite it saying do not touch, and also the piano with which Vaughan Williams composed The Lark Ascending, which is beautiful. And now I think about it, I've also played a piano that Elgar gave to one of his relatives. Would the man have let me in the church if he'd realised this? Or maybe he would have invited me to play Finzi's piano. Who knows? These are the sort of things I ponder on when I'm roaming about, looking at these churches. Best not to live inside my mind. I was just about to leave the church to explore the exterior when I realised I hadn't signed the book, which the man asked me to do. I usually do so, 'twould be rude not to. And besides, recording the footfall can help attract funds for the church. I always notice something as I leave, don't I? Beautiful song. Uh-huh. So this is where Gerald Finzi and his wife are buried. The memorial stone outside was engraved by Reynolds Stone. His other works include memorials to Winston Churchill and the 40th anniversary of the Battle of Britain in Westminster Abbey. Also to T.S. Eliot and the Grey Stone of Benjamin Britten. I wanted to read what it says on the grave, but the bird that's singing is singing so sweetly. I don't really like interrupting it. If I could just sneak in the pauses, that would be delightful. But at the same time, it's such a joy to hear it. I don't really want it to stop. Why therefore speak I? This root, this stem, this flowering tree. It's beautiful. Well, it's time for me to depart. Say goodbye to the bird. Go back to the car. Thank you for joining me on this journey, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye for now. Hang on, I'm not leaving yet. Just before I leave, I'm interested to see the house that Gerald Finzi lived in, which is opposite the church. Just here, I think. Looks rather large. They must have been well off. Here's the sign. The home from 1939 to 1956 of Gerald Finzi, English composer, 1901 to 1956. So he's here till he died. And that was his home. It's rather nice. There's a church opposite. Right, I'm really going now. Pause a while if you may to look at the photographs. Bye.